All right, we are live.
We're live. Welcome back, guys, to Grimerica Outlawed Roundup coming at you this week, January 22nd, 2025, with Warp Speed 2.0 and NEIT 0, which I still don't really get. I got it. You sent me all your titles today, and I didn't really get any of them. I was like, did someone take his phone? Was his phone been taken by a child? Like nana, some other shit.
Nanu. Nobody's talking about
That's why I didn't respond, because I didn't know what to say, and I was kind of eating too at the same time. I was like, I don't even know what to say to this. I mean,
don't worry. I never expect like an instantaneous reply from you, so it's all good. I mean, I can wait on those things. I mean, if I tell you I need an answer about something, I'll tell you. Like I'll make it clear. But I mean, it's NEIT, like the no agenda NEIT. You know that clip that they play NEIT. It's NEIT 0, right? I mean, it just came to me.
I still don't like NEIT. That is it like
no NEIT, like no in German, like NEIT.
Isn't that
NEIT? 9? Well, it's supposed to be 9. Yeah, I don't know what NEIT like.
Oh,
yeah, I tried to figure it out, but anyways,
actually 9-0 would have been better.
Yeah, probably. So no, it's a small segment. It's just Ontario. Ontario's got some net zero problems coming up. There's so much to talk about, dude. I'm overwhelmed. I mean, this is it's been an amazing day in a lot of ways. Like it's been an incredible. It's my girlfriend's 60th birthday, so happy birthday to Maria. I mean, it's unbelievable. And then we've made some progress. Like we've had some stuff like happening, personally we've been waiting on for months. So that's good. And then you showed me an email today that was like positive about maybe some other stuff that we've got on the go. And then
I wouldn't say that's positive yet, but
no, not yet. But
it was weird because it was unprovoked. But I have been emailing them, trying. I'm constantly, like, what's going on? They just stopped replying to you. But it was
but then this reply comes out. It's just weird. It's just all happening at a weird time. Of course, 2 days after the inauguration, which was like just a clusterfuck, really. I mean, I've got mixed emotions about. I'm happy about some stuff. I'm super like, obviously, very disappointed about other things, and blown away about other things. I'm like, why are they doing that? What the fuck is going on here? And then you are back on X, and then you sent me that good news. You're like, check your Twitter, and I'm like checking my Twitter. I'm like, there's nothing here, and then I see you're back. And
why?
I sent a unique appeal last night.
No, that's not it. You know what it was? That's not why.
Yeah, it is.
You know what it was? Is they so here I'm sitting in the office, and I get the email, the Kindle email, and they're like, hey, we're like out of the blue, because this is so I'm not going to get into details, but this is it would have been the same email that I got when they deleted the account, except instead of saying we're deleting your account, it just said, you can't publish this because it's against the rules, which is what we always said they should have just said, and we would have not published it. Just tell us what the rules are, because we don't subjective at that point. It's super subjective. So anyway, out of the blue, I just get this email that's like, hey, you can't publish this. So I'm like, well, what does this mean? Does this mean the accounts? So I checked, the account's not back open. So I put in a thing. I'm like, can you reopen this account? What's going on? And they have, because I've tried that a few times. I try like once a month, and they just don't reply to me. But this time they reply, and they say they'll have an answer within 5 days. I'm still not super optimistic about that side of it yet. But I was like, because right away I thought about the Trump thing. I'm like, I wonder if this has something to do with, people just shutting something off because of this free speech emergency authorization.
Right. So you replied to your ex. You replied to one of your ex.
So I go into my assistant, who I still haven't named, Jebediah,
Chief Dan George or something. You got to do Chief something. Chief.
Can't be Chief. Then he'd be the boss. I'm the chief. He's like, what's the sidekick? Toto or whatever. Anyway, I'm like, hey, then let's try a new Twitter appeal using this new Trump law, free speech law, as a sort of, throw that in there. And really? I didn't even read it. I just copy it and paste it. I've done it so many times at this point. I just copy it and paste it, because I got so sick of appealing, and you just get the instant rejection. Usually it's within 5 minutes. They're like, nope, you ain't fucking coming back. Forget it. And So this time I throw it in. I'm like, let's just throw in some stuff about the new Trump law. And I throw it at him. And, you know, it couldn't have been long, man, like fucking 20 minutes. And I seen the email, and right away I just assume it's the typical email of your account. We know. So it was about an hour later. It says our support team has reviewed your account and it appears we made an error. We've determined there was no violation and have restored your account to full functionality.
That seems like the same thing you said last time.
Well, last time they made me delete that tweet.
Well, yeah, but the tweet's gone now. So,
but now the tweet's gone. So that makes me think maybe this time it's going to last. I'm still not convinced. I mean, we could get kicked off at any moment. So
I said, I replied to somebody that would have been 12 hours ago. So when would that have been? So first thing this morning, was it this morning? I guess I said, because normally I don't really tweet in the morning, but it was about that which way Western man, like TikTok sends your data to China, Pornhub sends your soul to hell, X gives you freedom of speech, and it's down the center, right? And I replied to it. It was from The Art of Purpose, and I replied to it, except for Grimerica, who was kicked off here twice for nothing. They lied about him. So where is the free speech? Bring back Grimerica. It is our only reach. And then it happened.
Well, I'll give you credit.
Credit for it.
You could have the credit, you know, if it makes you feel better. Sure. So,
but that's amazing. It's good. It's good news. It's really, really excellent.
It can't be bad news, I guess. Anyway, while we're at it, I guess we might as well jump right into it. I'm going to just jump into this. I think this should do it. I mean, let's just jump into this.
You're going to jump right into this stuff.
Warp Speed 2.0.
Oh God, dude, I can't believe it.
Right into it. Before we get into the Canadian stuff, I want to talk because I've been talking about the dangers of Warp Speed 2.0. I've been just talking about, you know, it's like fucking, you know, Kennedy could help it, but he'd also be the ultimate hoodwink in the end. And then, you know, Trump warp speeded us once, so I'm a little leery. You know, like I said, I can't help but hope the guy wins because the other option wasn't great. But you got to be a little leery about the warp speed,
especially after he just met with Bill Gates, and then these guys come in.
Yeah, I'm so sick of it. It's not his fault. He did it to save the day. It was, you know, sure, maybe he escalated it, but you know, probably he did it. And stuff like this doesn't help. Let's take a listen to his first press conference. I skipped the whole Trump part because really all the stuff he says isn't as important as what these two fellas say.
Thank you, Mr. President. We certainly couldn't do this without you.
This is Larry.
It would simply be impossible. AI holds incredible promise for all of us, for every American. We've actually been working with OpenAI for a while and with Masa for a while. The data centers are actually under construction. The first of them are under construction in Texas. Each building's 500,000 square feet. There are 10 buildings currently being built, but that will expand to 20 and other locations beyond the Abilene location, which is our first location. The kind of applications that we're building, to give you an idea, maybe the most charismatic and the one that I think touches us all is electronic health records. Not just maintaining electronic health records, but by looking at electronic health records, understanding the condition of the doctors, better understanding the condition of their patients, and being able to provide healthcare plans that are much better than they otherwise would be. A doctor in Indian River Reservation would be able to see how a doctor at Memorial Sloan Kettering would treat the patient, or a doctor at Stanford would treat the patient. We actually provide all of that information, all of that guidance to the doctors who are treating cancer patients or patients with any other kind of disease, made possible by AI. I'm not going to take a lot of time. I'm going to pass it to Masa, but this is a very exciting.
Can we pause it? So what are the buildings for? What is it? Is it for
AI data centers for all your health records?
Just data centers?
Yeah. But wait, it gets better.
Program.
We're just scratching the surface of how great this is going to integrate your health life.
I can't believe they rolled this out.
Thank you.
First fucking press conference.
It's unbelievable. They have no. Do they have no discernment about what's going on in the room? Not this room.
That's good. That's great. I feel tall now. Thank you. Well, Mr. President, last month I came to celebrate your winning and promised that we will invest $100 billion. And you told me, oh, Masa, go for 200. Yeah. Now I came back with 500.
So hang on.
Because this is
like, oh, geez, I don't know. Is it? Okay, maybe we should listen to more of it. But I mean, I do think that the U.S. needs to invest in AI like a little bit. You know, they're behind, so it's kind of tough right now. We're in a spot. Okay, sorry, keep playing. I want to ask. I got a couple questions for you after. Oh, what happened?
That's what we're gonna do. With it.
One of the most exciting things we're working on, using the tools that Sam and Masa are providing, is a cancer vaccine. It's very interesting. It turns out, I'll be quick, all of our cancers, cancer tumors, little fragments of those tumors float around in your blood. So you can do early cancer detection. If you can do using AI, you can do early cancer detection with a blood test. And using AI to look at the blood test, you can find the cancers that are actually seriously threatening the person. So we can, again, cancer diagnosis using AI has the promise of just being a simple blood test. Then beyond that, once we gene sequence that cancer tumor, you can then vaccinate the person, design a vaccine for every individual person to vaccinate them against that cancer. And you can make that vaccine, that mRNA vaccine, you can make that robotically, again, using AI in about 48 hours. So imagine early cancer detection, develop a cancer vaccine for your particular cancer aimed at you, and have that vaccine available in 48 hours. This is the promise of AI and the promise of the future.
This could have ruined his whole inauguration, basically. You know, I mean, his whole first week, right? I mean, the implications of this are so disastrous, honestly, that in optics wise, right? Like, why would they use the V word? Why on earth would they use the B word? Why wouldn't they have just said treatment, AI treatment, or cure, or any other word?
They went better than that. They said mRNA vaccines.
I know, like, are they crazy? Do they not have a clue of what's going on in the world of, you know, memes and narratives and the battle that's going on between the vaccine right now and people getting
hey, whoa. We're not saying that's happening. It's possible.
So my point is that it really shows that Trump also doesn't have a clue, or he's just getting influenced by these guys to the point where the 500 billion is just like ringing his bell, and he can't say no to these guys.
It's not good.
Not good at all. I mean, and even if it doesn't come to fruition, it's just not a good sign. I mean, and he didn't come out. What?
They have $500 billion.
Yeah, but I mean, I do think so is the vaccine really directly related to the AI investment? I mean, it's really an investment in AI.
Yeah, this is just what they said they're going to make. I mean, why say that?
Why even say that? You don't need to say that. That's what's so weird about it. Why would you even say that? So, and you know what he doesn't say in the first day, which he promised. So he's broken another promise. He was supposed to tell us about the orbs. You're supposed to tell us what's going on with the orbs. What?
He did pardon what's his name.
Yeah, but he didn't tell us about the orbs. So he's already lied there, and not lied, but, you know, he didn't follow through on his promise. But I mean, all the pardons and I mean, all the, like, the free speech stuff seems great. There's a lot of stuff that is just super positive. I mean, it's interesting. And then we've got Canada just freaking out about everything.
Canada has TDS.
I do have
Canada. It's come to Canada because all these people are fucking triggered as fuck because we're like drug into it now somehow. I mean, honestly, it's worse than last time. Last time it was like an American phenomenon, but this time it's like people I know, people I know well. I'm like, really?
Was
Really?
the Nazi salute, was Elon's Nazi salute a real salute?
That was a big part of it. Well, I don't know. I watched a video that said it didn't go up high enough. I mean, I don't know. I see stuff all the time and I'm like, why are you waving like that? I mean, but then at the same time, it's like, who cares?
Well, because people think he's a Nazi, honestly. This is what's happening. Like good-hearted Canadians think he's a Nazi. Honestly. It's
The day before or just because of the salute?
No, the salute did it to them. Like the salute topped it all off. Like, so I don't want to get into the deconstruction.
Well, we don't need to get into that. We're gonna have to decide here pretty quick whether, because I mean the debate is still on, especially with Alberta. Alberta is, I mean, the interesting thing that's happening is the rest of Canada seems intent to drive Alberta out of the fucking country as quickly as possible.
And the rest of Canada doesn't seem to really want to deal with the issues, whether it's border security or whatever, right? I mean, it seems like they're just ignoring.
Separatist fervor in Alberta has never been higher. I've never seen it higher than it is right now. And I'm talking about just in my day-to-day, like talking to people. It's like, you know, it's always been kind of it's always been around, but it's like everyone's sort of talking to, yeah, what the fuck are we doing? You know? What are we doing? And it's like now everyone right away we're a bunch of racist scumbags, like in a second again, you know. First it was during COVID. It's like every time something comes around, we're just the fucking redneck losers. So it's like, you know,
it's been like that for decades though, dude. I mean, I grew up in Vancouver.
It's been like that for a century.
Yeah.
But maybe it's time to pack up our stuff and go.
Oh yeah. So but I mean, does this feel organic to you, or how?
Yeah, it feels. I think it feels organic. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's by design or not. Here's the thing: is it by design or is it incompetence? I know guys like Tisa say it's obviously by design, but at the same time, it's like you've got people in Ottawa that are talking out their asses. I mean, we're gonna have Marty up north talk about the oil thing coming up here in a couple weeks, but you know, we can't shut off the oil. It's not a real option. We're talking about 4 million barrels of oil a day. That's a lot. That's a lot.
4 million barrels of oil a day.
Just imagine 4 million barrels, 54-gallon barrels crossing that border every single day. That's pretty hard to shut off, and that's a lot of money. It's almost $1 billion a day.
And it all goes down south, right?
And it all goes.
It has to go down south, right?
Or
no. I guess they do
some slight western stuff.
They refine enough to use it for gas here, I guess, right? Like
but I'm just saying that's what we're sending is for over 4 million barrels a day down south, which is most of our, you know.
So is there a percentage of our production? I mean, I know we'll get into this next week, but is
97% of our production
is 4 million barrels?
Yeah, 97% of our exported oil goes to the States. What percentage of our actual production is it? I think it's like 75% probably. Wow. I think we use about 20 to 25. Or that's probably, I mean, it'll be good to get Marty up and talk about this because he's an oil guy. But no, I think that's what it would be if we did the whole country, but we're not. So it's probably a lot less than that because we're only doing, you know, parts of Western Canada. Eastern Canada is still getting oil on the East Coast from Saudi Arabia or wherever the fuck, some Arab country, and refining it there because they have refused to build a pipeline. So now, basically, the situation where the federal government has refused to let Alberta build any pipelines to get its oil to any ports except for down south to the States, and now they're threatening to shut that off, and probably scrambling to build pipelines. But you know, I don't know how long does it take to build a fucking oil pipeline from here to St. John's. I feel like it takes a minute.
To St. John's? Well, that doesn't have to go that far. It doesn't have to
go. That's where the refinery is.
Oh,
you could have one go to Hudson Bay, but there's a refinery in St. John's. So unless you're building, I mean, you could probably build a refinery in Quebec, like I say.
That's going to take like 5 to 10 years, probably.
At best, you know.
Oh yeah, we're in this shit for a while. I feel.
And if you want to go west to the, you know, say they're like, because it sounds like the Indians are already like, okay, well, you can do the pipeline. The one we said you couldn't do, you can do now. But if you're going to go west, you know, how long is that going to take? How long does it take to build huge pipelines through the BC mountains? You know, even if assuming that you just like cut all the red tape, or, you know, let's just assume they cut all of the red tape so that you don't have to freak out about the environment and permit this. And can you cut down that tree? And what kind of skunk is that? Endangered, all that out of the way. Just how physically long can you put down pipes and weld them together in that terrain? How to manufacture the pipes, all that kind of stuff, you know? I'm thinking it's got to be a decade minimum.
5 to 10 years, probably. I mean, yeah. Either way, we're in the shit for a while, I think. Did you see that?
We might be all right.
See that survey from Marty about the taxes, about the Canadian taxes?
No. But I do want to reiterate again that the other option is that these people that need to remember that we are still very tied to England. We still have a governor general. We still need royal assent. You can say it's ceremonial, but it's still there. The king could still cancel parliament right now if he wanted. He could still fire the prime minister. He can do all that stuff.
The king can.
The king can. So before you go to that, I just want to show this quickly because this is the other option. I mean, right now, these are the two options I see. The one way is the US way, the Trump way that, you know, might be great, might be not. It's kind of scary in a lot of different ways with fucking cancer vaccines coming out. But then you have this, where the UK is thinking of doing a generational tobacco ban.
What does that even mean, dude?
I'm pretty sure it means an outright ban on tobacco once after a certain birth rate.
Is this because nicotine all of a sudden became like a positive chemical for or whatever it is? For
I don't know. And I don't even smoke
for cancer. I mean,
or smoke cigars. I don't want my kids to smoke, but I don't want it to be banned, man. I mean, it just seems crazy. I thought we're supposed to be going the other way, like legalizing weed and stuff, and they're talking about banning tobacco. I mean, as an Indian, I take this to heart.
Are you going to talk about the Indians and the posts you've been doing?
That could almost just be its own episode. I was thinking.
Should we just do another episode then on that?
I think it's too long to get into it here. Would just take up everything. So I was thinking because I just released another one today, so we could do a whole episode on it. Anyway, generational tobacco ban likely to become law in the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom is poised to implement a generational tobacco ban this year, which would make it the only nation in the world to have such legislation at the national level.
I thought the States just came out with it too.
I'm not sure. The Tobacco and Vapes Bill was originally introduced to Parliament under former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, nice English name, and the Conservative Party in late 2023 before stalling out as United Kingdom elections approached this past summer. Then, under current Labour Party leadership, the bill was revived in November of 2024 when it was proposed by West Steeding of the blah, blah, blah party. North, if passed, the proposal would make it illegal in perpetuity for anyone born after January 1st, 2009 to buy tobacco products, including cigars. In the first vote in Parliament's House of Commons, members of Parliament voted 415 to 47 in favor of the bill, which currently sits in the House of Commons committee stage and is set to be voted on again in the House of Commons later this month. So tobacco products so basically if you're born in 2010, it doesn't matter when you turn 18, it don't matter. You can never get tobacco again. I'm sure that's just a matter of time until they phase that out to everyone, you know? The opposition force is more or less non-existent as it stands in the United Kingdom.
Can I show you something then? Just to talk about, can I add to that?
Yeah.
So this is what I'm talking about.
Third highest containing nicotine vegetable on earth is tomatoes. Every red tomato that you've ever eaten has nicotine in it. Did you know that green tomatoes have 10 times the amount of nicotine as red tomatoes? Did you know that bell peppers, cauliflower, celery, zucchini, all nightshade vegetables have tons of nicotine? In fact, that whole group of foods, nightshade vegetables, has the second highest amount of nicotine, only second to tobacco. Now, this one should shock you. Have you ever eaten a potato chip or mashed potatoes or a baked potato or nicotine in them? Why do they continue to make us so scared of nicotine and tobacco if it's in our veggies?
Okay, that's not the one I wanted, but it's what?
It was doubling up.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, how do I fix that?
I don't know.
They were talking about the vast part of nicotine is the fact that what was I looking for? My healthier smoking, a habit that causes terrible effects on users, heart attacks. There's been a bunch of studies about nicotine. I'm just trying to find them quickly here. Really, nicotine is not addictive. Studies on tobacco-free nicotine. Okay, I'll have to get back to you on that. But you should look into recent studies on the health benefits of nicotine, especially cancer. Zyn nicotine pouches for stale. So the FDA on Thursday authorized the Zyn nicotine pouches after studies by the agency determined Philip Morris's international nicotine pouches posed a lower risk of cancer than traditional tobacco products. Huh. Okay, I have to get back on it, but yeah, there's something weird going on about nicotine, and also didn't we talk about nicotine and COVID as well at one point? But I'm gonna have to.
There might have been something about smoking and COVID. Yeah. Anywho. Yeah, I just think it's crazy that they'd be. I mean, I don't think smoking's great for you, but that's a slippery slope. Just start banning more stuff. I mean, at what point is your health so important that you're not allowed out of the house?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, here it is. There's the fact that Sweden and Switzerland have been doing studies using nicotine on Alzheimer's and dementia patients that have seen patients recognize family members in 5 days is the reason they're now using nicotine in many other studies. So I see a ramp up of people saying that there's a bunch of benefits to nicotine that we weren't aware about. And now I heard the US wanted to ban it, and now the UK wanted to ban it. So it just smacks, the timing smacks to me of like, what's going on now? Why are they pushing to ban it now?
I agree.
So we're gonna do your whole thing in a separate episode then.
Yeah, I think that's probably best. Like I say, I think it's just way too long to get into here. I was kind of going through it today, kind of.
You want to just give a teaser like this about the Indians benefiting from being in the States compared to Canada?
Basically, yeah. I'm doing a whole series of papers on why it's in the Indigenous Canadians' best interest to join the U.S. How that's what they should be pushing for, at least using it as a negotiating tool to get more. Not more rights. It's not that they need more rights. They need more sovereignty. They need to own their land, and they need to control the resources underneath that land. And they need to control like the laws and all that kind of stuff around it.
Well, I got a whole bunch of stuff on UFOs and stuff that I got to talk about. So I know you're not going to be into that, but not a whole bunch, just a bunch of little things. I mean, look, it was a big weekend, right? We had the egg, we had Mork from Orc kind of show up on a disclosure. There was a big disclosure, and it kind of just got a little scrambled in the end. It fell a bit flat, but there was a big, hoo-ha about it, right? There's an actual whistleblower, like a firsthand witness of the, the capture of an alien craft, egg-shaped. So
Egg-shaped.
Can I just, you want me to get into it, or I don't want to step on your toes if you're ready to do something?
Well, I'm ready whenever. I mean, it don't matter. I got just mostly Canada stuff, so.
Okay, so, well, do you want me to save it for later then, or?
Yeah, maybe save it for the closing section.
All right, okay, or the second half. Okay, let's continue on. So let me get to that taxing thing with Marty then. I mean, this is just a small thing here, but Marty's, this is just to tell you what's going on in Canada. The Canadian Taxpayers Federation, taxpayer.com, in X there, ran a survey. Here are the 5 highlights. So 91% of us want to reverse the capital gains tax hike. I mean, that's not surprising. 94% want to scrap the carbon tax. 72% want to defund the CBC. 97% oppose a home equity tax. And 93% say the government bureaucrats need a salary cut. What else would you add? I mean, that's pretty much sums it up. And that's including, that's going to include liberals in there probably too. Like a lot of Canadians are taxed to death right now. Like that's the Canadian government's waking up more people than any of us conspiracy theorists. Ontario resident here, with our natural resources, we should be living income tax free in this country. I'm not talking about just Alberta either. Develop all of Canadians frying oil and gas sectors. and drill, baby, drill. Well, yeah. And then people have said, like, here's a summary of all the taxes in Canada. I mean, it's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable.
And you wonder why some of us are just fed up and would rather just, be a part of the constitutional republic.
But yeah, exactly. Because it seems better than what we got going on.
What the Crown's got for us right now. All right. So what do you got?
Well, I mean, we might as well play this quickly before I get into that next thing, because we were talking about it right before we started. And I think it's what is inevitable is a bunch of this kind of stuff is gonna keep happening, especially in this sector.
Stellantis Investments returns 1,500 jobs to their Illinois plant. They're going to produce their new midsize pickup in Illinois, and they're going to build their next gen Dodge Durango at their Detroit complex.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know what the next gen Dodge Durango looks like. Is that electrified? Is it a hybrid? Hopefully the latter.
We know that
for
the Trump administration
investors in Stellantis
on EVs.
No, and consumers really not that hot on EVs either.
Why is the guy focusing on that?
Olaf Scholz in Germany.
Well, because he's an American, he don't care.
Dude, we're talking about like shipping 1,500 jobs down south already.
He's an American. This is the Americans. So he's just talking about it not being electric. It's kind of a double whammy. Because the other implication is that they're making a bunch of new Dodge Durangos and trucks because nobody wants electric stuff.
And he wants to really push ahead, obviously, because they've invested, Volkswagen, Daimler, and BMW, so much in electrification. But yeah, this is interesting. You know, they're also pulling their production down from Canada into the U.S., Illinois, Ohio.
So it's really just a throwaway line at the end that pertains to us here in Canada. That, of course, being that they, just nonchalantly closed down one plant, which is 1,500 jobs in Canada on day 3, which a lot of people in Canada are going to jump up and down and scream about. But I mean, this is what setting back globalization looks like. Unfortunately, if it doesn't, it's not super fair for all the people living in Detroit that they had lost all their jobs so that people could save 10% to move everything north of the border to Canada. And, we probably had a pretty good thing going. And then we wanted to regulate and tax and blah, 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 to the point that the margins aren't big enough. Even without tariffs, the margins are probably barely big enough anymore. Once you factor in all the, because you get into Ontario where they're building all these cars, you got GST, HST, and provincial sales tax, plus probably an export fee
and unions too.
And unions. So
did you hear about the union in Quebec? I mean, Quebec, Amazon, they went union in one of Amazon's plants, and Amazon just pulled out. Amazon is shutting its operations in Quebec and will move to a third-party fulfillment. The Amazon employees in Quebec decided to unionize, and Amazon lost a challenge at the labor tribunal, of course. Almost 2,000 people will lose their jobs, and they can thank the union. All 7 of its warehouses in Quebec will be closed over the next 2 months.
Yeah.
So, I think people have to realize how terribly inefficient our productivity is as well. Right, it doesn't help, and we invested. How much of our pension plan got invested into Chinese electric car manufacturers? I mean, honestly.
Well, how much of your tax dollars subsidize those Amazon warehouses that are now going to be used for who knows what? I mean, those things are huge. They're going to get subletted into 50 different things.
I mean, all the stuff the government gets into, it's just boondoggles. The vaccine plant, did that ever get up and running? How many millions got put into that stupid vaccine plant in Ontario?
And the one here got put on hold.
It's unbelievable. It's just failure after failure. You know what I wanted to show you is a list. Maybe we can talk about that on the episode, Marty, too. The list. Did you see the list going around about all the projects that were canceled since 2015 or 2016 in Canada?
No, I don't think I did.
Okay, I'll try to find that for next week. It's pretty unbelievable in its own right. So here, I'll just play a tiny clip of Mo, because people were excoriating Mo for some good reason, but here's his take, like just a real soundbite about his take on tariffs.
The entire Saskatchewan is supporting
whoa! It's double plan.
Targeted tariffs that are there to change.
Okay, how do I change that?
You gotta not share your tab audio when you share it.
Okay, let's try that. Let's see here. Really, eh? Not share tab audio?
Try it.
Okay, let's see.
Saskatchewan is supportive of those very small targeted tariffs that are there to change the minds of
Is it not playing for you?
That's good. No.
Okay.
U.S. decision makers. What we have seen since last week is some of the language change to broad-based dollar-for-dollar tariffs being counter tariffs being imposed. Saskatchewan's not in support of that. The broad-based counter tariffs are escalating. The entire conversation around tariffs will be hurtful to Canadians and will be hurtful to the entirety of North Americans and ultimately to that North American energy and food manufacturing security that we want to achieve.
All right, there you go. That's it. Little clip there.
That's it. All right, I'll jump over.
For Scott trying to find a middle take between Daniel Smith and the rest of and Team Canada, as they're calling it.
He's not gonna have a choice for long. And it was never Team Canada when Alberta was getting the shit kicked out of it. So speaking of which, a long and uncertain road to Alberta independence. This is an older article. This is from the last time things were kicking up, which was funny enough was in 2019. Which was
wow,
before COVID, yeah. So just to talk about that in 2019, where we were at, Premier Jason Kenney has suggested that Canada is facing a crisis of national unity. I mean, this would have been when Trudeau was already putting cap on emissions and all that, which is basically just shutting down our economy. He cited a poll from the Angus Reid Institute where 50% of Albertans stated that
that's so close.
Thought Alberta separating from Canada was a real possibility. In a March 2019 poll, this 6 years ago, 56% of Albertans agreed with the statement Western Canada gets so few benefits from being part of Canada that they might as well go it on their own. These feelings of unease led the separatist Alberta Independence Party to participate in the 2019 general election. However, the party did not fare well in results. Anyway, these developments have raised the question, how could Alberta legally separate from Canada if the people of the province chose to do so? For Alberta to achieve independence from Canada, there would need to be a clear majority of Albertans voting in a referendum for independence. Following the referendum result, so the Quebec one in the 90s was like 49-51, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, it was really
1%.
close. Very close.
Following the referendum result, constitutional negotiations between Alberta, the federal government, and other provinces would need to be successful. The legal framework for separation. Following the narrow defeat of the Quebec independence referendum in 1995, the federal government asked the Supreme Court of Canada to consider how a province could legally separate from Canada. The court provided a roadmap for legal separation in 1998, a reference. Following the case, the federal government enacted a law in 2000 to provide clarity for how the federal government would approach a future independence referendum 25 years ago. The steps to achieve Alberta independence. The Canadian Constitution would need to be amended for a province to separate from Canada. The following steps would need to be followed. 1. Decide to hold an independence referendum. While the referendum itself has no direct or legal effect on our constitutional scheme, it is required to gauge the views of the electorate on important political questions. Thus, a referendum would be necessary if Albertans want to leave Canada. 2, decide on a referendum question to ask the population. The question needs to be clear. The Clarity Act prohibits the federal government from entering negotiations on separations if the House of Commons determines the referendum question is not clear. Blah, blah, blah. 3, conduct the campaign, hold the referendum, and tally the votes. A campaign period would be required for the pro and anti-independence activists to advocate for their positions. The campaign would likely be divisive since the referendum would have a significant impact on the future of Alberta as well as the rest of Canada. If the pro-independence side garners the most votes in the referendum, they must have received enough votes to show a clear expression of the will of the Albertans to leave Canada. The House of Commons will decide if the majority vote in favor of separation is a clear expression of the will of Albertans to leave Canada. The court stated that considerable weight must be given to a clear expression of the will of the population to separate, but neither clear expression nor what might form a clear majority were defined. A qualitative evaluation is required to gauge a clear expression. Similarly, the Clarity Act is ironically unclear about what would form a clear majority in favor of separation. So 5, Alberta, the federal government, and other provincial governments will engage in negotiations to change the constitution.
Yeah, I guess it would be. I think they would do everything they could to not make that happen.
Conclusion, a long road to Alberta independence. The Quebec Succession Reference and the Clarity Act provide the legal roadmap for how Alberta could gain independence from Canada. The crisis of national unity between Alberta and the rest of Canada can make it relevant to consider how this constitutional change could occur, even if the idea of a province separating is currently only an academic exercise. It is possible for Alberta to separate from Canada, but the process would be long, uncertain, and fraught with difficulty. Unless you had Uncle Donnie helping out, greasing the palms, then I think, obviously that wouldn't be independent, but it'd probably be better than what we got now.
Yeah, I don't know. They'll make it pretty hard to do it. I mean, do you think so? What you're thinking is like that this is creating a bit of a interest for people that hasn't been here since 2019, maybe, and that that they're seeing an easier route than just separating and staying within Canada. That maybe possibly.
I think seeing everyone jump on Trudeau's fucking bandwagon to hate Alberta is kind of really helping more than anything else. Instead of the rest of the country saying, "Hey, man, we all rely on that oil." Because everyone else is getting money from us like crazy. We're like subsidizing everyone else's healthcare program. Basically, we're subsidizing enough money to be outright paying for Quebec's healthcare program. So, that deserves some, hey, they don't, that being said, the Bloc Québécois is the one party that does support. So do the Conservatives. So I don't know. We'll see. That being said, Ontario's fucked. So all bets are off. It's like cornering a hungry fucking cat or something. I don't know what the analogy is, but that 1,500 cars is just the start of what's going to amount to one thing after another, after another, after another. And there's not a deal in the world that they're going to be able to make, in my estimation, to keep those cars in Canada. I really don't see how or why. The tariffs aren't to penalize us. It's not a trade war. It's to instigate more work
Manufacturing
at home. They want to manufacture the cars at home again, and he's gonna that, and it makes good sense. We should be manufacturing all the cars we make in Canada. That's great. We do most of the time. So for the most part, we do. Like 95%. The problem is we're making all those and like 100,000 or 200,000 more to sell the States, and it's not like we're even making them for Canadian car manufacturers. It's globalism. This is kind of the thing where it's like, because a bunch of anti-globalists are about to freak out about tariffs, and it's like, well, that's kind of the free trade is globalism in a lot of ways. It's we're China when it comes to building cars. It's cheaper for Honda. It's cheaper for Volkswagen. It's cheaper for whoever else, to make their cars here than it is for them to make them in the States. So they started making them here.
And so, because we just put them together, basically, we're just assembling.
I think we build a lot of it here. That I don't know the ins and outs of that. I'm not prepared to answer that question.
Yeah. I thought it was just assembly.
But there's huge plants. I mean, I toured one. I was going to go work in one before I came out west. I went and looked at it. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Super factory-ish.
Yeah, super factory, where you don't leave a little 6-foot square thing doing the same weld on the same thing 1,000 days. So how many cars exported from Canada to the US per year? And that number is coming in in 2020, Canada exported approximately 309,505 vehicles to the United States.
Approximately, that specific number. Thanks.
505, so they might have rounded up from like 503. Anyway, it's not good. It's not good for Ontario. So at what point? Because if you look at the map,
I'll pull up a map here.
I'll pull up a map of Ontario.
I love the maps.
You're the map guy. I mean, you could be. I mean, if Joe Rogan ever needs a map guy, give us a call.
Yeah. Want me to change the layers on it?
Ontario. Right down. Zip in down there. No, right down on the point. Right down on the point. Right down. Go to Detroit. Go to Detroit.
Oh, it's right. Detroit's right on the border there.
See where Detroit is?
Yeah.
So now scroll a little to the right. Go to about as far as, if you went to as far as London and a little bit further, maybe go a little bit further than London just to be safe.
Brantford, maybe? Or
if you went to Brantford.
Hamilton?
Isn't it Hamilton for sure, but let's just call it Brantford. Call it Brantford. So see where Brantford is. How much territory are we talking to go to the States for them to just take those things and not shut them down and everyone keeps their jobs? You know, almost nothing.
So just you mean like draw the line across here, like right under
you just draw the line across like, there, and
that's the States now. This little peninsula thing, they get all of Lake Erie basically, and they can just take that little chunk there and keep some cars. I don't think it's worth just for car manufacturing, but I mean, like you said,
then they don't have to move it all. They're just like, oh, this is just the States now. But you know what I predict is going to happen eventually. Maybe if we start seeing mass movements. Is that, and what could be happening now, and we just don't know about it yet, but I think they're going to start offering those motherfuckers jobs to go down there because they do still need people. They need people. And what do they like? They would love to have like good, well-behaved Canadians instead of third world implants.
Yeah.
So I can see some giant deals where it's like, yeah, we're going to move this whole Ford plant down here. And if you guys all come, we got to deal with these guys that we can get you your permanent residency and a path to citizenship.
Yeah. I mean, look at how close that all is, eh? Buffalo, Toronto, Detroit, Cleveland, all right there around Lake Erie and Lake Ontario.
Yeah. And all those cars, I mean, they really just moved the manufacturing 100 miles up the road.
Yeah.
It's 100 miles up the road, and they're going to move it 100 miles back down. Or we could give them 100 miles of Ontario. And, you know, everybody wins.
Yeah. 191 miles.
Is it in the miles or kilometers?
3 hours. Yeah, 3-hour drive. Yeah, from Calgary to Edmonton.
Yeah. So I mean, we probably don't even need to give them that much because they're not making any cars in Mississauga. It's all like I want to say it's all west of Guelph.
Yeah.
For the most part. It's weird when you look at it like that. They literally just moved it all 100 miles up the road.
Yeah.
All right, what do you want to get to next?
Well, I mean, there's some problems with. Well, here, how about a little clip about the free speech? I mean, have you heard this one from the? I gotta play this because it just puts like, you know, I mean, I do like how Trump did the EO. There is some good stuff that he did. We're not just completely bashing I mean, it's quite an exciting week with all the EOs and with the, you know, with
being neutral.
What?
We're just being neutral.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're not going to fucking let them get away with shit either. I mean, you don't think that stuff creeps us up? It's just like if Pierre got in, right? I mean, this is part of the thing with part of the right, or at least because we're shoved to the right. I don't think we're going to be just like blindly following this type of stuff. But listen to what this guy says. Ulf Schultz. Have you heard this?
Ulf Schultz?
Yeah.
I've heard of it. So
on the question of the dealing of Elon Musk, I had a lot of things to comment.
I mean, it's almost like this has got to be deep fake, but let's hear what he says.
In the past, because he was
doubled up again.
Really?
Or is it just a crazy accent? Let me hear it for a sec.
Europe, and
that's just
to repeat what I already said. We have the freedom of speech in Europe, and in Germany, everyone can say what he wants, even if he is a billionaire. And what we do not accept is if this is supporting extreme right positions. And that is what I would like to repeat again.
You can say anything you want, as long as it's not.
I mean, so then you can just label anything right of far left extreme right. I mean, How do they get away with all this bullshit labeling stuff, right? I mean, and this is what's happening. It's tearing people apart because they're labeling everything, and now they're saying, "Oh, we have free speech," unless it's extreme right positions. Well, what is extreme right, right? Obviously, now Elon Trump, the whole movement is extreme right. So EU is going to try and censor it all, and America's going to leave it open?
I don't know. I don't even know how it became extreme right. I mean, they just keep pushing me further and further over. I got yelled at today for sharing for a meme I shared in Black History Month, I guess. I don't know when that is, but I guess there won't be a Black History Month anymore. Just, History Month.
You got yelled at for like an old meme?
I think I shared, like maybe an American History X meme, but I was like, well, yeah, Dad, the difference is that was like a joke. This is like, you're calling me a racist piece of shit. It doesn't sound like you're joking. If you are, I mean, tell me. It's funny.
That's a really good point, though. You're calling me a name for making a joke.
Anyway, speaking of calling people names, we finally got it out of this piece of shit, Pierre. We finally got it.
Oh,
you know what it is? What do you think?
You're going to ask him how many genders there are.
Yeah, you seen it already?
Yeah.
Other genders that President Trump signed an executive order, the U.S. government only recognizing two genders, male, female. They're unchangeable. If elected as prime minister, is that something that you're going to kind of walk in line with, or what are your feelings on that executive order?
Well, I don't know. Do you have any other genders that you'd like to name?
Me personally?
Yes.
I'm just asking more so if you're in line with what he is saying. Do you agree with what he's saying? Is that something that you would be lockstep with if elected as prime minister?
Well, I'm not aware of any other genders than men and women. I mean, if you have any other that you want me to consider, you're welcome to tell me right now.
Well, there's personally, I am a man. I am
okay.
People say cis man. There are people there who they say they're
me too.
Gender
I'm a man
neutral.
well.
You are a man. Yes, there are people there who say they're gender neutral. Yeah, they say they're gender neutral. They're a trans person. Is that something that you would recognize here, whereas in the States, at least with their U.S. government, the way they're seeing it, there's only two?
I'm only aware of two, but I mean, if you come up with another list, then you're welcome to do that. But I'm aware of two, and as far as I'm concerned, we should have a government that just minds its own damn business and leaves people alone.
It's kind of dumb in a way, to be honest with you. Like, he knows what he's trying to say. He's got, there's a list of fucking 72 genders or whatever. Like, they're fluid. They can change it all the time.
It's a great non-answer.
But it is a good non-answer, but just address the question. The question is, like, will you officially recognize it on passports?
If you give me the list.
It's other. It's just male, female, other. That's where it's on all the official documents now, right?
So weird junk. That's if you're born with some weird junk, right? Like a hermaphrodite.
Just like people can call it.
People born with two dicks,
they want, right?
Maybe two vaginas. I heard of a double vagina. I've never seen one, but I heard of one. My buddy's uncle. Anyway, let's do the BC suck segment. I'm gonna start saving these up because people keep saying, "Why can't BC come with you guys?" And I'm like, because you guys are fucked. That's why we don't want you. Move to Alberta. Actually, Nick sent me a thing. I'll try and get it going later, but they're sending out like text messages to people in BC asking them not to move to Alberta.
No.
Yeah, I'll pull that up after this segment. It'll be a nice lead-in. So let's jump in. And sorry, BC people, but I can't help it. We'll start with BC principal suspended after an elementary student duct taped a chair. An elementary school principal in British Columbia has been suspended after helping a school staff member duct tape a student to their seat in an alleged bid to help the child focus. Renee McGormick was working as an elementary school teacher in the Southeast Kootenay district when she authorized another staff member to use duct tape to secure a student to their chair, according to the consent resolution agreement signed by the principal and the BC commissioner. McCormick also put duct tape on the student The goal of restraining the student was to improve the child's concentration on the assignment. Informant came by sometime later and took a picture of the student's work, helped to remove the duct tape, and gave the student a prize for completing the assigned work. The agreement does not say where it was. Thanks. So I don't know. What do you think? You think that's fine?
I kind of do.
Duct taping a kid to a chair.
Well, I mean, if the kid's just being unruly, what are you going to do? Like, you can't smack him with a ruler anymore. I mean, back in the day, just
I'd rather you just smacked him. Just smack him.
Just smack him.
Just smack him.
So now it's like duct taping. Like, shut
if
the
he
fuck up.
pisses himself, he's gonna have like or herself. The kids have a whole syndrome now
Because he's been duct taped to a chair.
Yeah, and pissed himself. I mean,
Oh, did he?
I don't know if he did. I'm just saying he could. I know Scoob got duct taped to a pole in the smoking pit in grade 9. It kind of fucked him up, man. He was never really the same.
Well, that's different when it's your peers. When it's your teacher and
that's probably worse when it's an authority figure.
No, it's like the guy was probably
elementary, dude. Elementary.
How old in elementary?
I don't know. Probably
Well, it's a big difference between grade 3 and grade 6 or 7.
It's up to grade 6.
Well, the kid probably deserved it. I mean, I don't know what. You shouldn't ask me. I'm not
saying that's the wrong answer.
So I'm not the
answer. I'm not saying it's the wrong answer.
I'm not the guy to ask. What do you think?
It seems crazy. I think, if you're having trouble, call the parents, send the kid home.
Yeah.
Smack it around, put it in detention, maybe in its own room. Just
put him in the corner.
It's kind of fucked up. Okay. Yeah. BC parents alarmed as school closes single-sex washrooms, leaving only gender-neutral options. Didn't they say this would never happen? We'd always have.
So what? I don't understand why would they do that then?
Parents at a British Columbia high school are voicing concerns about their children's safety. My daughter says she only uses the gender-neutral bathroom to poop. So she said that's because it's just like there's a girls' bathroom that has like 4 stalls.
Well, yeah, it's a big huge bathroom all on your own. Probably you get to go in there on your own.
The gender-neutral one has a lock. Yeah, you just get.
I mean, she's already cracking the code there, right? She's like, I get this big bathroom all to myself with a lock on it. Take my time, pull out the phone.
Their children's safety after the school closed. That being said, the single-sex bathrooms, the gender-neutral bathrooms that we made in the University of Alberta were not that. It was very much not that. It was like there was little private stalls once you went into this private room where you could easily be raped. And actually, the guy that was still working there at the end of the project, he's like, none of the girls are using the bathroom. He's like, there's one, like the single one down the hall. They all go down there.
Oh, I mean, was this really hard to figure out?
So, parents at a British Columbia high school are voicing concerns about their children's safety after the school closed their single-sex washrooms and left only gender-neutral ones for use by students, reportedly without consulting or informing parents. Jolene Branconier says her 16-year-old daughter was accosted by boys on January 10th while in a stall of a gender-neutral washroom out of Pleasant. What do you think's going to happen? What do you think's going to happen if you put high school boys and girls in the same bathroom?
I know.
So, boys on January 10th went in a stall of a gender-neutral washroom at Pleasant Valley Secondary School in Armstrong, BC. The school had indefinitely locked its 5 single-sex washrooms the day before, leaving only 3 new gender-neutral facilities open. She said her daughter called in tears after the incident, saying a group of about 5 boys pounded on her stall door while she was using the toilet. The boys were banging on the door so bad she could see light through the door. She thought the door was going to fly open. She started to cry. She was scared. She had to text her friends. Neither the school nor the administrators or the trustees of the school district number 83 responded to the request for comments. However, the school's principal, Stephen Drapala, replied to an email. In the January 14th email reviewed by the Epoch Times, Drapala said the decision to close the gendered washrooms at the school was based on the new washrooms having slightly better sight lines and to enable better supervision by staff. It sounds like it. We have been listening to the student and parent concerns over the 3 school days and have addressed multiple concerns that have been brought forward. So basically, I will bet you money that they're going back to multiple gendered bathrooms.
Did it say why they closed the one down? It seems really odd. Like you're just asking for trouble. Why would you close both of the other ones down? I don't get it.
Less inclusive. The other parent, Christy Stewart, has a 15-year-old daughter at the school who is uncomfortable using the school's gender-neutral facilities. Stewart has been driving to the school and picking her up whenever her daughter says she needs to use the bathroom.
Oh my God.
My daughter told me she's not comfortable going into this washroom. They're required to share the space with the opposite sex in a different age group. Students range in age from 13 to 18. Stewart said eliminating single-sex washrooms makes the school less inclusive. If we had male, female, and non-gender washrooms, we would have all those spaces. Kids' brains aren't fully developed, so they lack impulse control. They don't have the maturity to make responsible decisions, but we put them in a free-for-all. Why are we expecting teenagers who are hormonal and insecure and have anxiety to do this? It's a good point. So, and the last one, and arguably best and most communist of them all, BC is to start an Airbnb registry.
Oh, this is
BC requiring all short-term rentals to register with the government. Property owners who fail to do so will face consequences.
Yeah.
The BC NDP, who remember 20% of which were not born in fucking Canada, have announced that beginning May 1st, all short-term rentals must be registered with the government. Property owners who fail to do so will face consequences. According to the government, the new regulation applies to anyone operating a short-term rental in BC via sites such as Airbnb, VRBO, and Booking.com, or any other online forum. What if your buddy emails you? Once registration is completed, hosts will be provided with a number, which must then be displayed on their ad. Platforms have been asked by the government to delist any ads that do not include the registration number by May 1st. If a property still doesn't comply by June 1st, the sites have been ordered to prevent any new bookings and cancel any existing bookings. Hosts will receive a 50% discount if they register by the 28th or 25% if they register by March 31st. The fees will be used to support the short-term rental enforcement program. A short-term rental in BC is defined as accommodations provided to members of the public and a host property in exchange for money for a period of less than 90 days.
Well, they're making it hard for that too, and they've already made it hard for landlords to get rid of renters.
It's not just guns, right? It's not just guns. Now they're coming for your houses. They're telling you what you can do with your houses.
Not only that, but
they need a short-term rental enforcement program.
I know, it's unbelievable. And not only that, but you have to give 3 months notice now to get rid of tenants. I think like the ability for BC residents to get rid of their tenants has just like stepped up a huge notch as well. So good luck in BC. So I might as well go to the Ontario. Then we'll make fun of Ontario for a bit here. This is what I named the episode about. This is Torontonians have until January 31st this year, so 9 days from now, to rebut transform to net zero strategy. Have you heard about this?
No.
Resources to rebut false climate narratives in Canada and the world. And I thought I'd share this because it's important. If people want to find out how to address your city councils or like the local governments with all this stuff, there's some really good resources in here. So this is from our Greater Destiny blog, Doreen, but it's also a link from lawyer Lisa. I'm seeing a lot of her stuff come through. Toronto is a C40 city. That's part of this global climate alarmism, trying to get all these cities to do this net zero stuff. Let me see here. They've adopted an ambitious strategy. I mean, this is hard to believe even, to reduce community-wide greenhouse gas emissions in Toronto to net zero by 2040. So that's 10 years earlier than initially proposed. The city's 2040 target is one of the most ambitious in North America. So you can continue at lawyer Lisa there. But I also wanted to show you this ICLEI is global. Who is ICLEI? What is that again? Of course, there's all this stuff on climate alarmism, but look at this stat here from the Arctic sea ice extent. It's 26% larger than 2012. There's an essay here, review the research into the carbon cycle and its effect upon the biosphere, specifically upon the realm of plants and vegetation. We've talked about all that kind of stuff. Then we've also talked about this quite a bit on our show. That's NOAA climate emergency there. This is the hill to die on. Let's see. I want to go into Despite this vast body of scientific knowledge, the issue of manipulation of the weather has been excluded from the agenda on climate change. No shit. And excluding it from the debate, the UN is in violation of its own mandate defined by the 1977 convention. So this is that owning the weather by 2025. I mean, this kind of all over the place, but I did want to go into Maggie Hope Braun's Substack from here. Because she's got this Gather 2030. I think we've talked about this a little bit on the show, but she's pushing back on the agenda. So this is like municipal priorities first. So like why climate action plans should not compromise essential services or increase property taxes. So there's some really good information for people on how to deal with their municipalities all across the government, because this is leaking into everywhere, right? Oh, I'm not sharing that. Let me see here. So here we go.
Page, bitch.
Yeah, municipal priorities first. So this is an example of her stuff here. Climate action plans are voluntary, not mandatory. Canada's carbon reality, absorbing more than we admit. Municipal responsibility should take priority. The cost of climate programs and their impact on local budgets. So this is a really good resource for people who are maybe going to their councils or maybe need to get involved at a local level. Climate action plans, a data collection mechanism, no justification for underfunding essential services or raising taxes, and a practical community first approach. So conclusion is that municipalities must put their communities first. The role of municipal government is to serve its residents by focusing on core responsibilities that ensure a high quality of life. None of these should be underfunded, and no property taxes should increase to accommodate voluntary climate action plans or net zero policies. I'm scared to look at our little town's stuff. Actually, it seems okay right now, but so yeah, that's the net zero. Good luck on that, Toronto.
Is that Toronto again?
Yeah,
Toronto's really in for it.
Torontonians are in for it for sure.
I mean, all of Ontario, really, which will sort of lead into this next one, which is here. Kingston, Ontario. I mean, we're gonna have bread lines in this country this year.
Bread lines?
Yeah. Maybe not, bread out of the back of the truck, but you know what I'm talking about. Kingston, Ontario declares declares emergency as roughly 1 in 3 households struggle with food insecurity. This is before all the auto plants closed down. Oh my God. Public health units across Eastern Ontario describe food insecurity, being unable to afford food wanted or needed for good health because of financial constraints as a growing struggle across the region. Rachel Mathur, a dietitian in the Southeast Health Unit, said roughly 1 in 3 households in the Kingston area experienced food insecurity in 2023. We are seeing a significant increase in food insecurity locally. God, blah blah. What a terrible. I hate the way this article is formatted. According to a statement to the CBC by the Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services, the provincial government has increased Ontario disability program support rates by 70%, tied to inflation. It has also highlighted tax credit and it's moved to raise the minimum wage to $17.20. Keep doing what's not working. And its ongoing investments in a student nutrition program. So not a lot of details, but the headline sort of says it all. I mean, maybe I should have just played this. Is this a thing? Oh, that's what I was supposed to do. That makes more sense.
The situation is that it's
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
For Kingston City Councilor Greg Ridge, the pain of food insecurity is personal. His dad was hurt on the job, and at times their family struggled.
I remember once in the kitchen, my mom was crying, and I went over and I gave her a hug, and I said, "Mama, it's going to be okay." And these are things that they stay with you for the rest of your life.
This week, Kingston became the 3rd Ontario municipality to declare food insecurity an emergency.
Third.
Is calling on the province to help. The ministry responsible says it's boosted rates to a disability support program, added tax credits, and continues to fund school meal programs. But officials here say much more is needed. Kingston is home to hospitals, post-secondary institutions, and plenty of federal jobs. But even with that broad economic base, public health officials here say roughly 1 in 3 households is living with food insecurity.
A bunch of those federal jobs are about to get lost too. It's worth mentioning.
Yeah.
This
why?
Is
well, because you don't think that some of the 100,000 new employees' jobs might be in jeopardy when the government switches.
Well, since when are the Canadian government going to get? When the Polivia comes in, you mean?
Yeah,
like next year. Oh, I don't know. Who knows?
This year,
later this year. Yeah, I guess if they don't move it back.
I mean, probably at least a chunk of them, right?
Yeah.
Studies show what's happening in Kingston is a national problem. People forced to choose between a meal and other basics like paying rent.
The food insecurity numbers are the highest they've seen in 20 years.
At this local meal program, staff see that reality every day.
We're seeing more people visit that are from all walks of life, people that are employed, people that are unhoused, and everything in between.
One symbol of that change in clients is this, a high chair the program just bought for some of its smallest visitors.
Seeing children, youth, toddlers, babies coming in is very emotional. We know that the need is out there.
That's what this motion is trying to do. Let's make tomorrow a better day for everybody.
See, and it's infuriating, right?
That better day starts with a full stomach.
They talked about
Dan
some of
Takama,
the,
CBC News, Kingston.
Yeah.
So he says he wants to cut the federal public service.
Yeah, well, it's not the problem with these public services is they're not good enough, right? That's the other issue.
Garbage.
Like people
I
that
don't
are
like
on
the remote work thing though. You think he's just saying that?
I don't know. That's just a headline. You can't even believe what the headline says. I mean, what is this, CBC? Or I mean, we really have to get into what the whole thing. I mean, you could probably deconstruct that article right now, and he probably doesn't say that.
Let's see. Should we do it? Is it
Yeah,
on
do
the
it.
fly? Olivia says he wants to cut federal public service. Doesn't mind remote work. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. I think it's supposed to be Poilievre. That's what the wife keeps telling me. Says the government led by him would cut the number of federal public service, but he doesn't mind if they work from home. When asked by Radio Canada on Tuesday if U.S. President Donald Trump's executive order setting federal government workers back to the office 5 days a week is a good idea, Poilievre said that what matters is whether public servants do the work. He said that work is not getting done now within the federal government, but he did not go into detail about the public servants' productivity. That's a good kick in the ass for you there now. A parliamentary budget officer report that analyzed departmental results reports data between 2018 and 19 and 21 and 22 found that on average, nearly a quarter of federal performance targets were not met annually. There have been chronic delays in recent years for services like passports and immigration applications, as well as my taxes, which I'm still waiting for. Poilievre called for public servants to be given clear assignments and be monitored to ensure they're completing their tasks. He said he would also cut the federal public service, arguing that Canada has far too many bureaucrats. Poilievre said the federal Liberals drove up the deficit in part by hiring 110,000 public servants. I wonder how many of them live in Kingston. The Canadian press asked Poilievre and his team about how many public servants he would drop, what type of monitoring methods he thinks would be in place for whether he would end the mandate requiring public servants to work in person at least 3 days a week. They have not yet replied. When asked about the issue in May, Poilievre responded by criticizing Prime Minister Justin Trudeau over the size of the public service and said everyone should be working 5 days a week. So I think he's just dropping that for some votes right now. He's going to make them motherfuckers go back to work. You heard it here first.
Plus,
I'm not disagreeing.
Plus, probably a lot of the public service could be dropped. I mean, 110. That's what was that? 33% of them got. It was an increase of 33% or something like that since 2015. I mean, crazy increase. So,
Yeah.
I mean, but like what I was saying is people
40,
on disability,
40.
like those services never keep up with reality, right? Whether you're on the CPP or disability, like it's hardly enough to live on right now. I mean, the people that are on disability are the food banks and stuff as well, or on like welfare or.
No, it's not enough to live on. I mean, a couple of minimum wage jobs aren't enough to live on.
Yeah, it's craziness right now. So here, let me finish. Let me play something for you here see if you've heard about this. Have you heard about the city council recommending that the city signs on to the federal assault-style firearm buyback program?
No.
Sticking with the city council stuff. So here we go. A new report that will be heard by the mayor's inner circle recommends that the city sign on to the federal assault-style firearm buyback program to secure funding for the Winnipeg police. So they want to fund the Winnipeg police by going in and taking everybody's guns, buying them back, I guess. So in May 2020, the federal government banned May 2020, or was that 2023? They banned 1,500 assault-style firearms, and that number has since grown to more than 2,000. A buyback program was started for retail stores and is set to expand in 2025 to individuals. The Canadian government included an amnesty to protect people from criminal charges until the end or October 30th this year. If councillors vote to approve the report, the federal government will provide Winnipeg police more than $3.4 million to collect, transport, and store the firearms until they are destroyed.
Destroyed? I thought they were going to Ukraine.
No, the third-party group has been hired to get rid of them, to destroy them.
Ooh, how do I get a job there?
The third-party group that takes them to the takes them to the infirmary and then just or the fire pit and then just scoots their way down.
What happened while we were recording?
What happened?
John McAfee launched a crypto coin.
No.
From
I thought you were going to say he got canceled off of X again.
From his official account.
So Trump, is this triggered 2 days after Trump's inauguration or something?
He says, I'm back with AI NT virus, an AI version of myself. You didn't think I would miss this cycle, did you? AINTvirus.ai. Do not fall for scam tokens. This is the only official one. He must have got hacked, right? But then he tagged Janice too.
Wow.
Who repeated it, who reposted it.
Wow.
Well, she must be running the crypto scam.
Yeah.
What is with these crypto scams? I mean, how do we need a crypto scam? You guys want a coin? Send us some cash.
Primera coin.
I'll send you some coins. I got some red pellets I can melt down and make some cool coins.
Yeah, we're gonna have some guns. There's some extra guns in Winnipeg we can sell for coins based on previous.
Start a firearms recovery service.
There you go. Firearm recovery, FRS.
Yeah, America FRS.
Yeah. Based on previous municipal and provincial amnesties, the WPS has developed a project plan to collect ASFs, which will include the use of special duty police services to mitigate negative impacts on police resources and responses to calls for service, as well as dedicated secure storage for the collected firearms. According to all this, is it really worth it? All this money spent to track and store and collect and destroy, and for how many are we talking about? Are Canadians really that dangerous to the government? I mean, I don't know. According to the Government Canada website, anyone who possesses one of these guns, is told to securely store them until more details about the program are available. The report said that police would participate in the program until the end of the year. Council must enter an agreement with the federal government before the funds are available. I mean, they don't tell any. These stories are just bunk. CTV, you don't want to tell us how they're going to be collected, or is it just volunteer that you have to register them and then you have to volunteer for the sale, or do you have to sell them back? How does that work?
I don't know. Did you hear about this? 15,000 Canadians died in 1 year while waiting for free healthcare.
Free health, yeah. I'm glad you mentioned the free part.
Nearly 15,500 patients in Canada died over the span of 1 year while waiting for surgery or diagnostic scans, according to a new report based on partial government data. The policy brief, titled Died on a Waiting List by the think tank secondstreet.org, says 15,474 patients died waiting for health services in Canada between April 1st, 2023 and March 31st, 2024. The report said only 12 health bodies in 7 provinces provided full or partial data representing 62% of the country's population. The organization estimated the actual number of deaths could be closer to 28,000. Information obtained for the policy brief generally fell into 2 groups: cases where patients may have died waiting for life-saving procedures such as cancer treatment, and cases involved patients dying while waiting for surgery or diagnostic scans that could improve quality of life, such as a hip replacement. Thousands of Canadians across the country find themselves on wait lists, in some cases for several years, with too many tragically dying before ever getting treated or even diagnosed. Harrison Fleming, legislative and policy director at secondstreet.org, said in a January 15th statement, Canadians pay really high taxes, and yet our healthcare system is failing when compared to better performing universal systems in Europe. The 15,474 figure does not include data from Quebec, Alberta, Newfoundland, and Labrador, and most of Manitoba, the organization said. Additionally, Saskatchewan and Nova Scotia only provided data on patients who died while waiting for surgeries, not diagnostic scans. Secondstreet.org has been tracking this data since 2018, and it has now identified a total of 74,677 cases where someone has died. That's in 6 years, while waiting for healthcare in Canada. It's a small city. The report says that the government healthcare funding is not the issue, citing the provincial government's increased spending on healthcare over the last 30 years, and instead says changes to the system are needed. Total health expenditures represented an estimated 12.4% of Canada's gross domestic product last year, which is a record high outside of the 2020 and 2021 pandemic period. So,
what are the recommendations there?
Recommendations. The policy brief makes 5 recommendations to improve healthcare across Canada. The first is to have provincial governments improve their data tracking and disclosure. Another is to reform the way hospitals are funded, changing from block funding or annual checks to cover global budgets to an activity-based funding model where hospitals are paid based on their output in terms of services provided to patients.
What a concept.
Offering more healthcare choices is another recommendation. Patients who can pay for private care should be permitted, the policy brief says, saying this would align with better performing healthcare systems. Allowing patients to pay for treatment at local private clinics could take the pressure off the public system, just as better performing European systems do. Second Street also recommends that governments in Canada expand partnerships with the private sector healthcare providers. Governments in Canada and around the world have found that they can often deliver better care for patients by hiring private clinics to provide treatment to patients in the public system.
Oh, what does that say about Saskatchewan?
Okay, the policy brief notes the positive outcome experienced by the Saskatchewan government hiring private clinics, saying that according to the Fraser Institute think tank, these clinics cost 26% less per procedure. Imagine that. Ontario's auditor noted in 2014 that some services like MRIs, dialysis, and colonoscopies were between 20 and 40% less expensive if delivered in community clinics rather than hospitals. The organization also suggests that government considers offering reimbursement payments for patients in Canada who find out-of-province or out-of-country care. In the European Union, patients have the right to pay for surgeries and diagnostic scans in other EU countries and then be reimbursed by their own government, with the reimbursements covering up to the same amount of the government would have spent to provide the surgery locally. No, not only would this benefit patients who would travel for healthcare, it would also benefit those who remain in Canada. This is due to the fact that patients remaining in Canada for healthcare would move up a spot in the waiting list. Well, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. The fucking fact that you have to explain that shows just how far we've fallen, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because there'll be less people here. Anyway, I got one more here that I'll jump to because just kind of this one I thought was interesting because usually the States has the shitty food, but synthetic red dye banned by the U.S. has been deemed safe by Health Canada.
I was going to dig into this a little bit more. I found it pretty interesting.
So a synthetic red food dye banned this month from the U.S. food supply will continue to be allowed in Canada, where the Federal Health Agency has determined it does not present a health risk to the general public. The FDA issued a ban on red dye number 3, January 15th. The United States is not alone in its ban on the dye, which is also known as FD&C red number 3 or erythrosine. Similar bans or restrictions have already been enacted in Australia, New Zealand, the European Union, and Japan, or almost the rest of the world. Health Canada told the Epoch Times it has reviewed the evaluation and determined that the levels of red dye permitted in Canadian food items do not present a safety risk unless you eat a lot of it. Don't need a whole bag of cheesies. The red. Go ahead.
It seems like a bit of it does seem like a bit of a distraction in the States. Like people were commenting on, this warp speed 2.0 that you mentioned, and they're like, oh, all that focus on red dye, and now you come out with 500 billion to use AI to engineer genetic vaccines. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Oh, good job on the red dye, guys. And look what just snuck right in the front door.
The red dye is not good either. Let's be honest. Okay. I only got a couple more clips and then I'll be done. I don't know what
we should go to
Mark Carney.
Okay.
Couple Carney clips. I mean, no, you never win with a name like Carney. You should have changed his name. Carney. I mean, it just like sounds like you're a carnival fucking game guy, like you're Carney. I'd never vote for a Carney, even if I agreed with everything he said. I almost got molested by a Carney once.
That was one of my nicknames, Carney.
Why did you work for the carnival?
No, I was just
like one of them.
Yeah, probably because of my height.
It looked a little weird.
It was a hockey nickname.
This video from the internet of him talking about how amazing carbon tax is and all the additional value add taxes he can add on top of that. Let's have a listen.
In order to accomplish what we need is that there will be, for a period of time, a rising price of carbon, either explicitly for a long period of time, either explicitly or implicitly through regulation, that has the effect of a steady increase in the price of carbon. And that's a bit akin to having a rising value-added tax over time, which flows through to a lot of prices. And so the question is, how do you lean against that in terms of achieving inflation? It can be done, but it has to be watched. I think the central banks are able to anticipate, and particularly with credible and predictable climate policy, it's easier to address that. And so that, again, now there's lots of reasons why you want credible and predictable climate policy for a Green New Deal. So
this is Mark's bread and butter, creating a carbon tax, continually going up. And now, magically, a month and a half before.
Anyway, that's enough of that one. I got to do one more. It's like a clip blitz, Clip blitz is good. This is a good one because it's old, but it's Polivier and Carney.
Oh, yeah, this is a great one.
This is 3 years ago. I mean, we were just talking about how bad we need pipelines right now and how not having pipelines just fucked us in the ass and turned the entire country against Alberta, which is fine by us because, if it could start breaking up the country, I'm all for it. Hallelujah.
Do you support the Prime Minister's decision to veto the Northern Gateway pipeline, Mr. Carney?
I understand the veto of the Northern Gateway pipeline.
Do you support it?
Given both environmental and commercial reasons.
Do you support it?
I think it is sensible. I wasn't involved in the decision, but I think it was the right decision.
And yet your company has invested billions of dollars in oil companies in both Brazil and the UAE to buy pipelines. You bought billions of dollars of pipelines as a company in the last 5 years. Do you support those investments?
Mr. Poilievre, there is a global energy system, and one of the issues, I'm trying to explain a bit of how the economy works. One of the
Thank you so much.
It may help. One of the issues for this committee in thinking about a sustainable transition.
Do you support it?
Where is Canada's role in those as energy transitions from fossil fuels to renewables? And in different jurisdictions, into different geography, it matters. It matters, and this is a fundamental point.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. This is a fundamental. You're finally getting to a point.
You've exceeded
that
the
is
time.
relevant to this committee's inquiry.
What you're saying is you oppose pipelines in Canada, but you support them in the UAE and in Brazil. That's what you've actually said.
There are specific.
That's your double standard.
It is not a double standard.
It is a double standard.
No, it's not.
You make billions of dollars off foreign pipelines and you shut them down here at home, putting our people out of work.
That's a really good point. I
Representative
mean,
of the
it's
nation.
how can,
And one of your responsibilities, including at this committee,
Is to fight for Canadian
form
jobs,
and
not
to fight
foreign
for
jobs like you.
exactly to fight for Canadian,
Canadian
and the
jobs.
types of Canadian jobs that are durable and are going to move forward.
I don't care what
I
your
grew up in
global
Alberta. I know
energy
the innovative
control system
nature of
plan
that
is.
Well,
energy
go try to
industry.
give that answer back in Alberta, because I grew up
I
there
have
too, and I
many
can tell you
friends-
the people. Yeah, I can tell you the people
I
of
can tell you-
Alberta
I tell
would
you
be
what, that-
ashamed with the answer you just gave. That you would give
That's not- no,
billions of
because-
dollars, billions of dollars to foreign
Mr.
pipelines,
Polyev, you need
while
to-
not allowing Canadians to build pipelines here at home. That is the kind of elite Davos hypocrisy.
Could I please?
Madam Chair, this is really unbecoming of a member to badger any witness. This is really, truly unacceptable.
Continue, Mr. Polyev.
Thank you, Mr. Carney. You've just said
I mean, could you be a bigger fucking dork, man? What is?
you support your leader's decision to kill a Western Canadian pipeline that ships the most ethical product in the world. Yet you also support your company's decision to invest billions of dollars in foreign pipelines in Brazil and in the UAE. It's clear that this is not about the environment. If it were, you'd be consistent and you'd oppose fossil fuels everywhere, but you're happy to profit off of foreign fossil fuel companies while killing jobs among our own people. How do you address that flagrant hypocrisy? It smacks of the Davos elite at its worst.
Okay. First thing, absolutely, I support Canadian jobs, and I support Canadian jobs today and tomorrow. And in order to have those jobs tomorrow, what we need and what this committee can contribute is an energy transition. The Canadian fossil fuels, Canadian companies will play an essential role. Brookfield itself is heavily invested in Canada, including in energy infrastructure for fossil fuels, but it's also, and we connect collectively as Canadians, and we look to our parliament to support this, need to be putting in place the energies and industries of the future. That means carbon capture and storage. That means blue hydrogen, and both of which are absolutely essential for Canadian jobs in my home province of Alberta. And that's where the future lies. Now, we need to have the overall picture, which is why, and I'll finish with this, Chair, I emphasize the clear pathways, walking back from that, not jumping on specifics, and not seeing the bigger picture, nor providing the support that Canadians deserve.
Oh, it's infuriating, dude. I mean, carbon capture and storage, really? That's what we're going to transition into? I just feel like I feel like swearing at this guy.
Isn't that true?
It's like, based on what if we don't agree with your supposed science? There's like thousands of scientists that don't agree with you, buddy.
Is that just planting trees? Because there's a bunch of trees up in northern Alberta already that are just capturing and storing all kinds of carbon.
No, it's different. That's the problem, right? It's like you're going to create an industry around capturing carbon, you jackass. It's infuriating.
I love it when you're infuriated.
Like it's like this is going to come to a head right now, especially with Trump and the way he's pulled out of the WHO and he's drill baby drill. It's going to come to a head. Are these globalists going to handle this? Are they going to fight? They're not going to give up.
They're going to take Alberta into the States. That's my number one hope right now. I could get to dual citizenship. I'm a little worried about the IRS, so I might move to Saskatchewan. Let's put everything in your name. You can pay me in Bitcoin.
Even Trump coin.
Gold, baby. All right, last clip I got.
In front of the forward operating location in Yellowknife, Northwest Territories. A recent article interviewing Arctic expert Ken Coates, how Trudeau is leaving at most troubled time you could imagine for Arctic security. We are in the most troubled time you could imagine in terms of our security. And we have a new American president coming in who is quite assertive, quite demanding, and very angry with Canada for its underperformance on defense spending. We have a still intense international environment, Russian aggressiveness, Chinese interests, uncertainty in a whole bunch of different areas. And so we all know the threat of Russia and China and the heightened activity in the Arctic. Well, the Trudeau government has said they promised they're going to spend a bunch on NORAD modernization. $38.6 billion is the promise. Well, we did it.
How much you think they spent?
7
billion?
Yeah.
An order paper question where we asked, well, of that money, how much has actually been spent? So of the $38.6 billion, they've only spent $70 million. Meanwhile, there's all this.
But wait, what do you think over half of the money of the 70 million went to?
DEI? No, it couldn't be going to something like that. What? No. What?
The DEIs don't like the cold.
No, it went to I don't know, beavers, wilderness, like what?
To get something done on NORAD modernization. Of the $70 million spent, $40 million has been spent building the bureaucracy. The NDP Liberals have abandoned the Arctic. I can tell you, under a conservative government and our leader and a prime minister, Pierre Poilievre, we're going to fix our military and we're going to protect.
Yeah, but what are we expecting here? What do we want? What are you trying to protect up here? Look at this. Look at this map here. I mean, not that I believe in this scale here, but there's massive, the Great White North, Canada.
Gold and oil, I'm assuming. I mean, dude, I was watching a thing where there's still just like most of that shit is unexplored up there.
I know, but how are you supposed to protect that with $70 billion? However many billion. Canada can't protect all that. Why are we even trying?
Protective. We could build some like turrets maybe or some scanners, you know.
Well,
I mean, Trump's taking it all anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Just let it happen, people. Just surrender. Let it happen. Just quiet down, ease, relax, let it happen. Shh.
All right, guys. We appreciate it. We're gonna head over to the second half of the show. It's not quite half a show for this one. It's just the extension. But if you head over to GrimericaOutlawed.ca, of course, you can get onto that and get the extensions to these and get the second half, all the interviews we do. There's like 80 extra episodes, all sorts of great stuff. You check it out at GrimericaOutlawed.ca. We appreciate all you. We had over 550 people tune in this week live. So that's, great news.
Thanks to your Twitter restatement. Thanks.
It can't hurt. So
thanks, Elon.
Fucking Elon, you piece of shit. He's a Nazi. Did you see? Anyway, heading to the second half of the show, guys. Please start us off, Graham. I'm going to shut down these streams.
All right. Well, we are going to play. I mean, this is about the disclosure that has happened. I mean, really, like the egg thing